Question is,
State your name, please.
Jim Plaster, 6300. I have a question. Is this debate that's going, or this discussion going on right now, limited only to the Bill of Rights or to anything in the individual rights section?
According to the rules, we've exceeded 5 minutes in discussion, and so we're required to go to the vote. The amendment.
However you can. Time does not allow him to answer the question.
Could you quickly restate?
What's the question? I'm sorry.
I have another issue I'd like to raise other than the Bill of Rights in this guiding principle entitled individual rights.
Okay. Does the secretary have a copy of your proposed change?
I have it in my hand.
Okay,
You can
excellent.
raise it when we complete with this. Please present that to the secretary. Sir? Sir? Would you give that to the secretary, please? All those in favor of the...
Could I, on CJ Meyer 3119, could I add federal government to that?
No.
Mr. Chairman, since I seconded that, I will accept that as a friendly amendment.
Order, sir. There is no such thing as a friendly amendment. The amendment has been passed.
What has been passed, we're voting on the amendment as is. Correct. All those in favor of the amendment as stated, say aye. Aye. All those who oppose, say nay. Amendment passes.
Mr. Chairman, Don Morgan, Precinct 4027. I submitted, I believe, the first of the amendments to this in writing earlier, and it's simply to recognize the inalienable right to life that begins at conception and ends at natural death.
That's why you get the minutes at all.
Is,
I don't wish
There's
to
an
fund my
amendment
worst enemy.
stated on the floor. Is there a second to that? The wording? Which section was it?
7.298.01.
Under individual rights, the one recognition of the inalienable right to life that begins at conception and ends at natural death.
So you want that wording added to that statement?
Yes.
You already have it.
Where would it be added?
We believe that these rights and the responsibilities therein are the foundations of a free society, embracing the U.S. Constitution as the cornerstone, and then as a separate sentence acknowledging the right to life.
So how would you word it? We acknowledge.
I've already got it written, the secretary has it.
We're in the right section. He was using jumpers and stuff.
The right to life from natural conception to natural death is recognized as inalienable.
Can you black screen and go over to family?
Is that your statement, sir?
Yes, sir.
There's an amendment motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
3212, Martin Hauser, I second that amendment.
Motion moved, seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, that's not, it was under, it's where we were at.
John Williams, 4407. Haven't we already covered that in the family value section?
Here.
So why do we need to repeat it in the individual rights section?
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, while we do include that in other sections as principle or as policies, this is a fundamental principle.
Sir?
I would like to point out again, Val O'Donnell, 7031. I would like to point out again that this exact language is already included in the family values section, I see no need to repeat it in the individual rights section.
Yes, sir, it is not there. It says we recognize that the states have the right to recognize that. We allow states also not to recognize that by that language. This is an inalienable right. Without the right to life, the rest of these are meaningless. We do not state unequivocally that we have an inalienable right to life at this platform. And frankly, I think that's one of the most fundamental rights we have.
Any other discussion?
I wanted to offer
Name and precinct.
Jim Plaster, 6,300. I'm going to offer an amendment to the last line of the individual rights section.
Where are you?
Annette Remsher, 4444. I just want to state in proposal of support of this proposal that without our right to life, we have no other rights. Nothing else matters. So first things at first.
Kevin Smith, 4443, I call for the question.
Question has been called for. Any objections? All those in favor of ending discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Discussion. Sir, the name and precinct, call for the question.
Kevin Smith, 4443.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the
See, so people prepare. They would have you submitted. You should actually not have things up on the screen.
The amendment reads, the right to life.
The right to life from natural conception to natural death is recognized as inalienable.
All those in favor of accepting that amendment wording, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any additional amendments?
Jim Plaster, 6,300. I am a very simple-minded person. And I would like to offer a very simple amendment to the first page, which is the primary page that people will ever read. In the first section, individual rights. The last line of that section currently reads, protect and maintain individual rights, period. I would like to propose amending that to protect and maintain individual rights, including the unborn children.
Amendment on the floor, is there a second? Is there a second for the amendment? Is there a second for that amendment? Dies for lack of second.
One question on that.
Yeah.
Is it possible to change a quote?
Change it.
That's a quote. The amendment is Patience Ryan 9002. That's part of the quote.
Google that.
So can you modify a quote and still be a quote?
Sir, would you bring that up here so we can look
The
at it?
motion's dead.
Again, if you,
The motion's dead.
the motion died for lack of second.
Thank you.
I would have to ask the parliamentary. And again, if anyone has amendments, please submit them in writing so we can move this along before we go.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would move that we take a vote on the current platform as amended at this point. Dave White, 3306.
Sir, Dave, you're asking to take a vote on the current platform as amended?
Individual rights as amended as we just talked about.
The question has been called for.
Yes, we are an individual.
All those in favor of ending discussion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Discussion's ended. Now we're voting on the, accepting the individual rights section as amended. All those in favor of accepting as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Passes.
Okay, the next section we are reverting back to is national sovereignty, immigration, and defense. And so the first one I've got here in front of me is an amendment to national sovereignty from John Trambush, PCO 7023. Don, sorry, I was like,
Point of clarification. Turn form 1330. I just went to hand in my items and she said to wait for them to give me theirs. So,
okay, Don, are you going to come forward and make your motion?
Tom Trambush, 7023. I'm sorry, I was expecting it to be read, but I will read it. It's just changing one word under national sovereignty and immigration and defense. The Spokane County Republican Party believes that America must have the strongest military necessary to defend our borders, our homes, our national interests, according to the U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights. I am simply asking to change capable of to necessary to defend, changing defending to defend. I simply, the only reason I'm doing this, or asking this, is because I simply believe that it is more accurate, because we really want to use as much military as necessary and not military, as much military as capable. I don't want to have to spend a bunch of money on something that we don't need, just as much as necessary.
Sir? Sir? I'm going to ask you just to restate this right off your paper, just to make sure it's clear. Please.
Okay. Excuse me. Under national sovereignty, immigration, and defense, Spokane County Republican Party believes America must have the strongest military necessary to defend our borders, our homes, our national interests, according to the U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights. We endorse a foreign policy of peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations. Opposing American role as the policeman of the border. Republicans oppose all treaties and policies that sacrifice American sovereignty. We strongly assert that the interests of the United States must never be subordinate to that of any foreign nation or international body.
Is there a second on the amendment?
I have a point of order.
Yes.
Is there any way to, Tiana Abel, 7031. Is there any way to hear the suggested things before we vote on them? Because I feel like if somebody has one suggestion, but maybe somebody else down the line, whatever order may have a better way to do it. Once we voted on it, we're not going to want to hear it again. So if we could hear maybe what is being proposed first, and then vote on them one at a time, it might be
Tiana, from what we have submitted to us up here, there's no others for this section that are submitted.
okay. Well, just in general.
Is there a second on the motion?
Tracy O'Donnell, 6101, I second that.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Any discussion? Do I need to read it again? Motion moved and seconded for the amendment on the wording in national sovereignty, immigration and defense. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed? Motion passes.
So I was incorrect. This one, I just didn't have a name on it, but we do have another on this section. And
Signed in
this
blood.
is from Judy Crowder. And she has a motion to amend this section. So Judy.
Judy Crowder, 4003. Okay, so what I have done is taken language out of the 2010 to make the immigration part a little stronger. This is really for Gary from my precinct, one of my precincts. Okay, so what I would like to do is to add at the bottom the following statement, which is from the 2010 plan. National sovereignty, immigration, and defense guiding principles. Because, you know, we read that it only had one little part in there and it was not very clear. So what we're trying to do is beef that up a little bit. It's a big issue right now, and the national people are really wanting to do amnesty. So this is just to kind of support it. Okay, Republicans support, again, this is out of the 2010 platform. Republicans support the opportunity to earn U.S. citizenship for all who enter the county legally. Illegal entry threatens the security of and dilutes the rights and privileges of all citizens and those here legally. Republicans will secure and protect our country's borders against illegal entry and invasion by supporting the use of the National Guard if necessary. Republicans support elimination of incentives that draw illegal immigrants, such as birthright citizenship, education, driver's license, medical care, and welfare. Republicans will oppose all amnesty or guest worker legislation until real immigration reform has been defined and enacted into law. Republicans will enforce existing immigration laws. That's really important. You know, we're talking the rule of law. Okay. Republicans will enforce existing immigration laws, including employer sanctions, and work to unite all peoples and all cultures within the United States and support the adoption of English as the official language. Again, this is straight out of our 2010 platform. I think the best place would just be to add it right at the end.
All right, specifically, you want this, Judy? You're requesting that this whole thing be put at the end as an amendment on what we just completed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Brad Kemp, 9,000, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we add this additional wording to the national sovereignty and immigration and defense discussion. Also, as just a point, if you do have a written amendment, it's easier finding out that we could just hang on to it so you can read it, then we can reread it if necessary and present it to the secretary. Thank you. Any discussion?
Did you say state when she started? She said county, or did she mean country?
Country.
Sorry. 3115.
Thank you. Way to keep an eye on it.
Michael Cathcart, 3324. I would just say this would fit much better, as written, this would fit much better in the policies, not the principles section. There's a lot of very specific policy statements in this verbiage that it would fit better in that area than the principles.
I don't stand necessarily opposed, but not being familiar with the platform from 2010, and as much as it may pain you, I wouldn't mind hearing that read one more time before I vote on it.
Okay. Republicans support the opportunity to earn U.S. citizenship for all who enter the country legally. Illegal entry threatens the security of and dilutes the rights and privileges of all citizens and those here legally. Republicans will secure and protect our country's borders against illegal entry and invasion by supporting the use of National Guard if necessary. Republicans support elimination of incentives that draw illegal immigrants, such as birthright citizenship, education, driver's license, medical care, and welfare. Republicans will oppose all amnesty or guest worker legislation until real immigration reform has been defined and enacted into law. Republicans will enforce existing immigration laws, including employer sanctions, and work to unite all people and all cultures within the United States and support the adoption of English as our official language.
Richard Crowder, 4003. Mike, to answer you, we cannot add it to the policies, supporting policies that's already been approved. So it has to go into here. This is the point that it has to go to.
Any other discussion?
Jim Mullen, 7031, as a retired military officer who was an advisor to the National Guard, I don't think it's apropos to mention the National Guard in this. Basically because they're, the military and the National Guard is part of that, is not equipped to do what is asked of in this particular amendment.
Any other discussion?
Robin Meanock, 6033. I have to speak against this, just simply because it's coming at such a late hour and it's so lengthy. And there are several points in it that I have to disagree with. The incentives to come to this country have all been listed as though they're coming to just get freebies. A lot of these people are coming to put food on your table because they're doing work that you won't, and that other people in our society do. I'm speaking for agriculture, and I have to tell you that things like the employer's sanctions is really tough. As an employer, I can't ask if those documents are legal. I can't even ask the state of Washington, send me some workers. They won't even guarantee that they're legal. And yet you want to put sanctions on the employer, and that's not right. My children, my grandchildren attend school in central Washington, heavily Hispanic area. Those people are the backbone of the community. They're doing labor in food processing. They are coming here because we have jobs. And if we don't pass a whole series of reforms, y'all are going to be eating your food, your fruits and vegetables from foreign countries. And then it becomes an issue of national defense and national security.
I'm sorry,
so
we're at the end of our time.
Okay, thank you. I just would urge you not to do this because too much, too late in the game.
We've exceeded our time limit on discussion. You get the.
Okay. So on the National Guard, that is to prevent the U.S. military from coming. I didn't write these. This is what the Republicans in the past have written. So that is, if there is a crisis situation that the Border Patrol cannot handle, that's when your state militia type National Guard comes in, not the federal. So that's that part. You know, the unemployment rate is 25% if you go to shadow statistics. Now they keep extending that and extending it. If people weren't being given welfare as unemployment, maybe we could fill those jobs with Americans. Maybe they could be the backbone of the country. This is a really big issue.
I'm sorry, Julie, but your time is up.
I was beyond rebuttal.
Sorry, but the time of discussion is up.
Thank you.
We have to move on to the vote. All those in favor of the amendment as stated, being added to the individual rights section, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion fails. Additional amendments.
I'd like to make, Lyle Swift, 4018. I'd like to make an amendment as a third paragraph. that says,
Which one, sir? Please, specifically. Third paragraph of what?
third paragraph of this section, national sovereignty, immigration, and defense.
There's only 2 paragraphs.
We're still on individual rights, sir.
This section has 2 paragraphs, I'd like to add a third one. It states, this includes acts upon our sovereignty such as United Nations Agenda 21 and the Kyoto Protocols.
Do you have that written on it?
I don't think any of my employees are Republicans.
Does everybody understand the amendment? We're on national sovereignty, and he wishes the verbiage to be added as an amendment to this paragraph, the last paragraph. Republicans oppose all treaties, correct? Republicans oppose all treaties and policies that sacrifice American sovereignty. We strongly assert that in the interest of the United States must never be subordinate to that of any other foreign nation or international body. He wishes to have added, this includes attacks upon our sovereignty such as the United Nations Agenda 21 and the Kyoto Protocol. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Start 4427, I second that.
Motion moved and seconded. Did I make those additional wording to that section? Is there discussion? Who made the motion?
Val O'Donnell, 7031. This section of the platform has already been passed. Are we now going to go back and unpass it to amend it?
That has not been passed.
This is the guiding, not the supporting.
Withdrawn.
Mr. Chairman, Ken Garso, 6213. I'd like to read the last sentence of that paragraph. We strongly assert that the interest of the United States must never be subordinated to that of any foreign nation or international body. It says it right there. You can put everything into that bucket you want. Agenda 21, national, thank you.
Comments?
Well, I made a suggestion as a resolution, and it was in the do not pass collection from the committee. I would find that this would certainly more than substitute for that resolution anyway. This puts 2 fangs right out there in public, and people will look at that, they'll realize that these are threats to our national sovereignty. They'll see this, and they might even be tempted to Google those things and find out what those agendas are about and how dangerous they are to our sovereignty. I'm standing here on 2 legs because people before me have paid a price and made a path, and I appreciate that. And I want to just continue on and make a path for my children, my grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. I want this nation to stand for a long time.
Is there any other discussion?
Dave Starr, 4427. The gentleman's here is right about those being included in that. But I also agree that the fact that people need to have an understanding of what fears we have, what kinds of things, and if we spell them out, like saying, like Google, you might realize it's something, you know, where that's coming from and why that's important to us as a party is because here's the kinds of things that are attacks against our sovereignty and we need to know what they are. Why it's important.
Any other discussion?
Jim Musher, 6313. I'm a little frustrated with the process because it seems like we're looking at the guiding policies separate from, or the guiding principles separate from the policies. In this case, we already have or we're reviewing the principle, trying to make changes there, but, and then the policy's already been approved, but this thing about Agenda 21 might fit perfectly in with the policies. And I agree that, I've asked people, do you know what Agenda 21 is? Haven't got a clue. If we at least get it somewhere in the print, maybe it would raise people's interest and say, hey, what is Agenda 21? So I wish it would be somewhere.
Any other comments?
Spoke up during
Discussion? All right, it's been moved to second to add that verbiage, if you'd like me to read it again. Okay. All those in favor of adding the verbiage to that section, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. Motion passes. Sir?
Wayne Martellaro, 6013, move to amend the first paragraph by adding, we oppose all intervention in the domestic affairs of other countries and support non-interventionist foreign policy. Thank you.
Did you submit that, sir?
C.J. Meyer, 3119, second the motion.
National sovereignty, first paragraph.
Michael Kasich, 3224. I agree with the sentiments, but I think the sentiments are already very well expressed within the writing where it says that we have a foreign policy of peace, I don't have it in front of me, let me read it. Peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations. I mean, that says it right there, and that's actually a direct quote from Thomas Jefferson, who expressed that belief in government.
Mr. Chairman, Don Morgan, 4027, I rise in opposition. That amendment would have stopped President Reagan from going into Grenada. That would have stopped the United States multiple times from going into Mexico. It would completely vitiate the Monroe Doctrine. It's dangerous. Anyone who's studied history understands there are times when we have to protect our interests, even when they're in Mexico, or in Grenada, or in Cuba. When Russia puts intermediate range ballistic missiles in Havana, that's a threat to us. We have to be able to respond. I understand the motives behind it, I'm not questioning those, but it's a dangerous idea. I stand in opposition.
Sean Williams, 4407. I'm rising in opposition to it. I think our current platform is already really clear about that. And in some cases, we do need to intervene. So I'm opposed to this amendment. Thanks.
Additional discussion?
Mark Larson, 7031. I don't think we need to return to the early World War II policies of Neville Chamberlain in this country.
Any further discussion? Rebuttal?
All right, I'd just like to close this then by saying I don't think I'm not proposing that we do not defend our interests, but that we do not intervene in other countries' problems. And I do not wish to imply that we should not stand against somebody who puts missiles and fires at us, but somebody simply putting missiles in Cuba, for example, should only be rebutted with a threat of retaliatory force.
We did.
Thank you.
It has been moved and seconded to add the verbiage. Would you like me to read it again? Add the following statement, paragraph 1. Oppose all intervention in the domestic affairs of other countries. Second statement is support a non-interventional foreign policy. All those in favor of adding this verbiage, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. Amendment fails.
There were two ayes, the motion maker and the second.
We're at the time maximum limit on that section, so we need to move on. Well, I've just stated.
Quit national. Sorry.
sovereignty back up.
Chairman, entertain a motion to move on because the time limit is.
We're still on it.
The next one.
Do I need to approve with amendments?
Mr. Chair, Mike Fagan, 3116. I would move that we go ahead and vote on the amended version of national sovereignty, immigration, and defense.
Wayne Shuttle, 4005, I second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to vote on the national sovereignty, immigration, and defense section. Discussion, all those people in favor of accepting as amended, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Section passes.
Which ones do you have left?
Under policies, the next section is right to keep and bear arms.
Policies, is that this one or is that the
Julie
other?
Hale, 7005. I move to replace section C with impose any limitations on the types of arms people may own or the manner in which they are carried.
Everybody get that? Read it? Verify? Okay. It says to keep and bear arms. Spokane County Republican Party believes that guaranteed under the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington State Constitution, it is the right of all lawful citizens free from government.
Well, it's we're only picking a couple now that didn't get approved yet.
You guys are so patient. My apologies.
I'm
Section.
here until I run out of recording.
Okay, Section C currently states, support focusing on mental health reform as means of reducing gun violence. The amendment states, oppose any legislation, any limitations on the types of arms people may own or the manner in which they are carried, correct? That would be C. Well, I'm just... If you want that, Julian?
It's in the rules, but
Okay,
I'm hearing
it
just
says
we
C
want-
here, but it looks like...
Yes, replace
C.
that addresses the mental health issue that people had with disarmament veterans and addresses my issues with opposing limitations on the types of arms.
It is to replace that Section C. To replace oppose any limitations on the types of arms people may carry on or in the manner in which they are carried.
I think we're on 4990.
Okay, one at a time. Is that, you asked a question? It's replacing Section C. Okay. Section C again states, support focusing on mental health reform as a means of reducing gun violence. Currently stated. The amendment would state in Section C would oppose any limitations on the types of arms people may own or the manner in which they are carried. Motion is made. Is there a second?
There is a second. Rick Hess, 4418.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Dave Starr, Rise in Opposition, 4427. I don't think anybody needs an RPG or a 50 caliber machine gun or a tank or I mean, and it does say any. I think
See how tough she is?
my experience in the military and
Might take an RPG to
civilian
take her out.
life, people can get carried away. And, so, I mean, I think any is just a little bit too open of a barn door. Just at the end there. I'm a hardcore Second Amendment advocate. I don't believe in get up your sovereignty to be able to protect your home, but I don't think you need a bazooka or an RPG.
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay,
Discussion?
as the maker of the motion, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's not an issue of what we may or may not need, right? I mean, that's playing right into the anti's language. So this just really is affirming the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
William Leaf, precinct 4411.
It is my belief that we need to have any firearms necessary, because if we have to go head-to-head with current active duty military, as stated, we need to be equally armed, not like the redcoats were trying to do to us back in 1775 and 1776, where they're trying to do powder raids. We need to be fully equipped to do what we have to do.
Sean Williams, 4407. I'm standing in opposition to this for two reasons. One, I don't think the U.S. military in this Obama does something to radically change our constitution. That won't happen. That's what I'm trying to say. And the second thing is, I don't think people would really want a bazooka, but still, yeah, that's iffy. So I'm opposed to this.
Hi, I'm Susan Bacon, I'm 6207, and I am for this, and I'll tell you why. Remember the Ukraine? We just went through that. And not only that, but I would like to tell you a personal story. In 2008, my husband died from cancer. Went to the doctor, and my doctor said, well, how are you feeling? I said, well, I guess I'm kind of depressed. He wanted to give me some antidepressants. I said, no, I really don't want to take those. I didn't take them. But that is on my chart now, that I'm in a depressive state. And if I wanted to carry, I do have a concealed weapon permit. But I often wonder, hey, just when are they going to say, hey, you know what? You were depressed way back then. Are you still in control of yourself, Susan?
We have one minute left in our timing for this section.
Bruce Thompson, 6302. I stand in support of this amendment. Never in our nation's history have we been pressed by the internal forces of our own government in repression of the citizens. It's happened throughout our nation multiple times, and we do not need to be disarmed, limited to what we can have, and in fear of our lives from our own government. It is a very uncomfortable thing to have to state that, but we've had enough evidence in our recent history that we have a dangerous situation with our own government in this country. So I stand in support of this amendment.
Yeah. We received the time limit, the chair will entertain a motion on discussion. Julie gets the last statement.
Clarification. If we vote to approve this amendment, we are striking the existing C completely. So that would remove the total mental health clause completely and replace it with that.
Correct.
Yes. I want to make sure.
Julian?
Excuse me, I think I've been here waiting my turn.
Excuse me, we are exceeded the time limit. We do have to find out. The chair will entertain a motion to end discussion on this issue.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Would the chair entertain a motion to amend the motion?
The chair can entertain that. Yes.
I'd like to move that we amend it so that the word arms says small arms.
No. No. I gotta go ahead with the tank. I want to.
Yes. All right. You know, everybody's getting a little tired of restless here.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate to make.
You have amended discussion then?
No, I need a second to see if we want to end discussion on this and vote on it. I don't need about a motion.
I just want to.
Okay. Wait just 1 second because he was ahead of you. We got last word.
Kevin Smith, 4443. I spent 30 years in law enforcement. I respect those of you who've been in the military and dedicated to their time and resources in support of the country. I think we need to be cognizant of the fact we've had an awful lot of children that have been killed, and we can't ignore that completely. While we may not be an advocate for controlling all weapons, I think it's good to remember that even a stop clock is right twice a day, and we might consider finding some common ground that would help protect our children. I agree with the gentleman who said earlier, we don't need to have 50 caliber machine guns.
Your time's up, sir.
Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, you can rise to amend the motion, but it died for lack of second. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, you never